All right. Hello, everyone again. This is my second take. I fucked up the first take pretty badly. Um, I was messing around in FL Studio and I opened up the project file for GAULTIER, which was from Odin's Festival, that album, in case you didn't know. And I thought, um, I want to show y'all how I actually make the music that I make in the meantime, because I've been working on music and I've been dealing with school and other stuff, so I haven't really had time to post on socials or just fully focus on music in general. So I thought this would be a good way to pass the time and just to show y'all some of my creative process because I feel like I don't communicate super often. Part of that is to keep some sort of um, anonymity. But from time to time, I will be showcasing how I make certain beats. So let's get into that. So, Gaultier, this song samples His World from Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, as evidenced by the intro. You get the gist. It samples that part of the song. So, here's how I actually made it. Pattern 1 had all the hi-hats, and prior to the bit crushing effect, it sounded something like this. This was when I was experimenting a lot with different hi-hat patterns, and one of the ways I would experiment is that I would have like a general pattern right here, evidenced by all the little big um, chunks of hi-hat, and then I would have little tiny hi-hats in a slightly higher octave or just higher key to kind of like I think it added a bit more texture to the sound itself, and when you turn on the effector, you can kind of see what I mean. That's the hi-hats. And pattern 2 I like using this specific perk in all of my music, so I kind of just thought, okay, fuck it, I'll throw it on here. These are the snares, and specifically, these are from two drum kits that I just have on here. I don't really keep track of like which is which. Most of the time, I'm not thinking, oh, let me have a specific drum kit. I'm just thinking, fuck it. I'll just look at this drum kit. Hey, this snare sounds good. I throw it in there. It sounded good, and I didn't want to keep doing the generic like clap snare thing, so I was like, I'll try looking for something new. And I liked how this sounded in the mix. So then we have the actual 808s itself. These I use the Avant-Garde 808s, and this was from I know this one specifically. This was literally from the MP5 Underworld drum kit. Shout out whoever made that kit because that carried me a lot when I was younger. Anyway, um, this is the 808 pattern. Um, I really like to use glide notes in all of my beats. More recently, I was mostly inspired by Lucy Bedrock when I was first starting out producing. I didn't really know how to get the same effect, and then I kind of like saw glide notes, and I was like, oh, let me try that. And sure enough, I've been using them ever since. That's not to like glaze or anything, but I do think that glide notes do sound really nice. And honestly, it's a lot better than like a jarring switch between one key to the next key or the one note to the next note. Excuse me. I just think glide notes overall, they're pretty snazzy, and I like them. So I thought, hey, let me throw it in here. And keep in mind, this is all still accounting for the sample. I didn't just think of all of this shit and then threw the sample on there and called it a day. Like I still had the sample in mind when I was putting all this together. I thought this open hat really blended with the whole the sample itself, because whenever I do sample music and I sample stuff that's like a lot more rock adjacent, um, especially around this time, I wanted to experience like a more digital, like kind of really brutal kind of sound. Like it was really in your face and not super discreet or light. Like the 808s are just punching you. The hi-hats are punching you, the snares punching you. Like everything is just in your face. It's not super low fidelity. And so I kind of did the same thing with the open hat. And pattern 6, I remember what this is. Um, just more like this is like actual sound design that I used. A lot of my shit I use either Flex or um, what should I call it? Um, damn it, I literally had the name of it. I'll probably get to that in another video. But I use Flex a lot in whenever I do sound design for some songs, because some songs I do fully produce, and then other songs I do sample. You didn't hear that from me. Um, so I just usually add stuff like this to give like the whole beat some texture. Like, there's more noise that's filling up the empty spaces. You probably wouldn't notice this at all, like in the song, if you're just listening to it like raw. Either that's because it just blends in, or I have shitty mixing. So that's up for you to decide. That's for you to decide. Way, pattern 7, more texture for sound design. It's just more texture. I think I prefer making actual melodies and leads, but adding texture to a song can be fun. Just having random noise that just fills up everything. Because like I think it blends in and it just adds more. Um, Whenever I listen to songs, I like hearing small things that aren't really noticeable on a first listen. Um, that's why I don't really like a lot of simple beats because I feel like there's not a lot to really like dive into. Unless they're focusing on like the melody, which in that case that's really cool, but like noticing small shit with the drums or just again like just other small sounds, I think that's more appealing and that's why I usually include that in most of my beats. But I added that. Again, extra shit. This is just in the background. If I'm not mistaken, no, this is throughout the entire beat. Okay. This is more actual sound design stuff. Um, I thought the sample on its own was like too not yeah, too empty. Like if it was just the sample looping over and over, it's kind of boring. I think it's kind of lazy in terms of sampling. I feel like if you're not chopping something up, at the very least, you could add a little bit of sound design. That's just my whole that's my 2 cents on it. Because whenever I did sample in the past, I would say I was kind of lazy, but I tried chopping it up, and that's what I try to do. Either I chop it or I add some noises like this, or add some leads like this, or whatever. It's simple, very, very simple. And then, um, same thing here. Oh, actually, no, I lied to you. Not the same thing here. This is my second 808 pattern that I used during this was after on bar 41. This is like the main kind of just like I went for a more distorted sound than the regular 808s. So this one still punched you in the face, but I think this combined with I used the die kick from the Benji drum kit. That drum kit's also cool. Shout out Benji. He's pretty sick. I like a lot of the shit that he uses with his music. I like all the drums and the melodies, but I am not that good when it comes to raw sound design, so all power to him. Um, but yeah, no, this was the second portion of the 808s. And I'm kind of showcasing a lot of just like the patterns. I'll get to the actual mixing portions in a second. And then this was the other part of that little lead that I made, this time in a higher octave. This one is D8, not D8, I apologize, but it's in the 8 range, and then the other one was in the 7 range. So literally just like 1 octave above. And then 1 octave below as well. This was for the second 808 set. So and small tidbit, I am going to unmute this. On that portion of the song, I ended up using the low octave and the high octave, kind of just to give like variety. Just kind of alternating. And then the next pattern was this is more sound design. This was like a full-blown background melody of sorts, using Rhodes Basic on the Flex plugin. Again, glide notes. I also like using glide notes with anything that is a lead or just random plucks or anything. Glide notes are really fucking good, and I think in terms of like general production, they are very underutilized, which sucks because it's like eating boiled chicken. There's nothing. There's literally nothing there. The glide notes add like actual spice, and that's how I see it. Anyway, you already heard of that portion. More sound design. This was with Let me pause that. This is with Voltage ARP, also on Flex, and again, I'll get to the whole the mixing portion in a second. But again, same thing. This one I ended up introducing on the second 808 portion as well as the end of the song, just to have more progression in the song, and again for filling up more sound, and also secondary melody and all that. Um, in the piano roll, this is an exact copy of this one. I just thought initially I was kind of lazy and wanted to like add it on top of the other one, but I thought, oh, this actually sounds pretty distinct compared to the Rhodes basic piano roll. So I was like, you know what? I'll keep this one, even if it is a literal carbon copy of the exact same piano roll. And then this was the separate drums portion. I'm pretty sure it was like right here. I don't know, it was right here. Usually in most of my songs, throughout the middle or toward the end, I like to add in different types of drums. You can tell I really like drums. Usually it's either breakcore or just generic dance drums, and sometimes, especially around this era, I wanted to fuck around with different types of drums because I was kind of just tired of using breakcore 24/7. I am now learning to appreciate that a bit more, so on my new project, you might see more of that if that tickles your fancy. And so, with that being said, I made this little drum pattern for the song. Some of it is harder to notice. I will say that's a fault on my end, but at the same time, this song is chaotic, so it probably wouldn't matter that much anyway. But whatever. Um, and that's it for the actual patterns. That is everything. Then you have the actual mixing. As you can see here, this is my entire channel rack. Um, you're gonna see in future beat breakdowns, there are a lot of these. But for the most part, my mixing process is very simple. And as I look at this, I'm realizing that a lot of this isn't how it should be. Um, but usually my 808s are reserved to like uh, the right side in terms of panning. So you tend to hear more of that stuff a bit on your right. And hi-hats are usually on the left, unless the person that made whatever sound of a drum kit, like their hi-hat was just naturally panned to the left. It just depends. Like this hi-hat, for example, this was like it was fully down the middle. Some claps also. Like this one's a bit to the right. And then this snap, again, fully down the middle. And also the actual plugins that I use on these are pretty interesting. Usually whenever I do sample, I want to turn the bass down because why would you want to have conflicting bass most of the time? Other people have different mixing techniques, but usually I literally just I plug in fruity parametric, bam, boom, simple. Sometimes there's a little bit of bass. It just depends. This song I didn't turn it down too much. I like the chaotic element of it. Um, for number two, again, this is the hi-hats. This is the effector. Without effector, I don't like how it sounds. I like how it sounds a lot better with that on. Three, nothing. Um, 808s are already kind of explained. However, usually I do use Wave Shaper. This is how I actually like kind of make the 808s sound consistent across everything. It's Wave Shaper, Soft Clipper, and Soft Clipper on the maxer, and sometimes Effector, depending on like what I want to go for. A lot of the songs off of Odin's Festival were mixed with Effector in mind. But anyway, for most 808s I do that, and then I have MoMA from Analog Obsession. You should check it out. There's a Patreon page for it, and I was put onto this by Thayer Period. He's actually a really good producer and artist as a whole. I think he's pretty cool. And yeah, no, I think it's pretty cool of him to even like mention this because this has been like a lifesaver for most of my production as of late. So again, shout out to him. He's the goat. And then Kicks are kind of the same thing. Sometimes I like this one. I just didn't use Momo on at all. But generally speaking, wave shaper and soft clipper, and in some cases, actually, I'll save that for another video because I might have more to talk. I kind of want to talk about this a bit more. Um, and then usually, just general mixing stuff. Some things are turned down, some things are turned up, blah blah blah. Um, Added some reverb to 13 was the clap. I don't like to toy around with the reverb a lot, but sometimes it is useful. I'm not gonna deny that. I think having reverb on certain claps or snares, something like what song you're making, again, it adds more noise. There's more noise. It's filling up any fucking empty space that doesn't have noise. So that's good. It's real good. 14 was the bullied. Again, 15, same thing for all 808s. MoMA, soft clipper, kind of just the norm. Again, kicks usually depends. Most of the time, I will not use MoMA on kicks, and I'm trying to incorporate it a bit more, but sometimes it doesn't like produce my desired effect, or, like the effect that I want. So sorry if I'm bad at explaining this, but yeah, no. Um, and the same thing goes for the rest of this shit. 20, same thing, kick, soft clipper, wave shaper. This is all you fucking need. And when you are on wave shaper, always want to cycle through the different shapes you see, because generally speaking, this is the best shape. This is the best shape for your 808s and all that shit. And then there's Sound Goodizer, which I used for 21. Um, it just depends on like how you want certain. Again, filling up noise or filling up space with noise. Um, Sound Goodizer generally isn't like the most amazing tool because the mixing with it is very like automated and it's not gonna fit your song standard most of the time. Unless you just like random, loud, poorly mixed garbage. Sometimes it's very beneficial, and sometimes you just shouldn't over rely on it. Because I used to do that with some of my old beats, and not old as in like last year, old as in before I even started doing this shit. And with that being said, it is not a good look on your music or you as a producer. And I'm saying this as someone who isn't even that good at the sound design, but even I know Sound Goodizer is not a good crutch. It just isn't. That's enough of that. And yeah, no, that is pretty much the rest of it. I added some delay to pattern 25, which was a hi-hat. And yeah, no, that's it. That is the full beat. So I will play some of the shit separately. Because also there's other stuff that I didn't even go over. The crash. This crash is goated. I have heard this crash in every fucking song known to man. I use this crash in most of my songs. It's a good crash. I can't even deny it. And yeah, I know. So here is the actual beat with um without any melodies. Actually, I forgot pattern 8. Apologies. Um and if you were to move the texture, quote unquote, you would get something that sounds like this. Wait. Anyway, so then you can add in our melody, the one that we made. Now, if we were to move everything drum related, we would just get this. Yeah, well, you can ignore the claps. That's not really super important, honestly. And then we have our other 808s right here, as well as the part of the melody. I also added a generic little drum loop too, for the end of the middle portion of this song. And then it transitions into the actual 808s. Anyway, you throw that all together, and you have this fucking song. And that's it for today's beat breakdown. I did, again, Gaultier, by me, Bergfather, on Odin's Festival. Let me know if you want to see more beat breakdowns, because I don't want these to be a frequent thing, especially when I am working on music. But I do like talking about my musical process, and I do like opening files randomly and just thinking, oh, damn, I made that. So if this interests you, let me know. And if this is your first time hearing my music, you should check out the rest of it, because not to be biased, but I think I am pretty decent. Anyway, that's all. Goodbye.